Think about the last time something went wrong. Not catastrophically wrong, just wrong enough. A meeting got canceled. A project fell apart. Plans collapsed at the last minute. And somewhere underneath the stress, underneath the inconvenience, there was something else. Something quieter, something that almost felt like relief. You probably did not say that out loud. Most people do not, but if you paid close enough attention to that moment, you might have noticed that a part of you was not entirely upset about the disruption. A part of you welcomed it. And that feeling, the one you buried almost immediately out of guilt or confusion, is one of the most honest things you will ever feel. Because the truth is, a significant number of people secretly enjoy chaos. Not in a destructive way, not in a way they would ever admit at dinner, but it is there, running quietly underneath the surface of almost every life that looks perfectly composed from the outside. So the question is not whether you feel it, the question is why. And the answer reaches further back than psychology, further back than history, all the way down into the basic wiring of what it means to be a nervous system inside a human body. To understand that, you have to start with a paradox that most people never examine. Human beings spend enormous amounts of energy trying to create order. We make schedules, we set goals, we build routines and systems designed to make life predictable, efficient, and controlled. And yet, when those systems hold perfectly, when nothing goes wrong, when the week runs exactly as planned, something strange happens. Life starts to feel flat, colorless, like you are watching it through glass instead of living it. Order, it turns out, can feel just as uncomfortable as chaos, just in a quieter and more confusing way. Because you cannot complain about it, everything is fine, and somehow that is the problem. Psychologists have a name for what happens when life becomes too predictable. It is called low arousal. The nervous system is not built to rest at zero. It needs a certain level of stimulation to function well, to feel engaged, to feel like the present moment is worth paying attention to. When that stimulation drops below a certain threshold, the brain does not simply settle into contentment. It starts to manufacture its own stimulation, it generates restlessness, it produces dissatisfaction with things that should, by any reasonable measure, feel fine. It makes you pick a fight you did not need to pick. It makes you blow up a plan that was working. It makes you want to throw a grenade into your own routine just to feel the heat of the explosion. This is not a personality defect. It is not immaturity or recklessness, though it can look like both from the outside. It is a deeply embedded feature of the nervous system that kept your ancestors alive for hundreds of thousands of years. A brain that went fully calm in a peaceful environment was a brain that stopped watching. And a brain that stopped watching got eaten. The threat monitoring system could not simply shut down during quiet periods. It had to stay ready, so it kept scanning, and when it found nothing worth scanning, it invented something. That mechanism has not been updated. It is still running in you right now, in a world that no longer requires it to run quite this hard. Permission is also something else at play, and this one requires a little more honesty to sit with. Chaos does not just stimulate the nervous system, it grants you something that order quietly and persistently takes away. When your life is structured and predictable, you carry the full weight of your own outcomes. Your trajectory, your choices, your results. All of it traces directly back to the decisions you made. There is no buffer, no convenient explanation, no room to point somewhere else, but when chaos enters the picture, the rules change. Expectations shift. The plan was disrupted by circumstances outside your control, and suddenly, you are not the one accountable for the outcome. You are the one adapting. You are the one being flexible under pressure. And there is a subtle but very real psychological relief in that shift, in moving from the author of your own life to someone navigating difficult circumstances, because navigating circumstances asks far less of you than authoring your fate does. This is why people sometimes unconsciously invite chaos into situations that were going perfectly well. Not because they want things to fall apart, but because stability, for all its comfort, is also a kind of weight. It is the weight of full responsibility, full accountability, and full exposure. And chaos offers a way out of that weight without requiring you to admit you want it out in the first place. Now, here is where the story gets historically interesting, because what we are describing is not a modern phenomenon. It is ancient, and understanding that changes how you see it. For the overwhelming majority of human history, chaos was not a psychological state. It was simply the texture of daily life. Food was uncertain, shelter was uncertain. The weather could destroy everything you had built in an afternoon. The people you loved most could be taken from you by illness, by violence, by drought, without warning and without any meaningful explanation. Order was not the background condition of human life. Order was a fragile thing you carved out of a fundamentally unpredictable world, and you felt genuine gratitude for every hour of it. The belief that life should be stable, predictable, and comfortable by default is extraordinarily new. It is a product of roughly the last 100 years of industrial, economic, and technological development. running water, reliable food systems, central heating, legal protections, and financial safety nets. These things are historically almost unimaginable luxuries, and for all the genuine good they have delivered, they have also created a condition that no previous generation ever had to navigate: people who are bored by their own safety. When life becomes structurally secure, the nervous system does not respond by relaxing into gratitude. It starts looking for the edge again. It searches for the signal that things are still moving, that the environment still demands something, that there is still a reason to stay sharp. And when it cannot find that signal in reality, it manufactures it. It generates drama where there is none. It amplifies small conflicts into large ones. It seeks out turbulence in the news, in relationships, in work, because at some biological level, calm reads as stagnation. And stagnation, to the ancient part of the brain, reads as a warning. This is why comfortable, secure people will spend hours consuming disaster documentaries and collapsing situations in conflict-driven content, with a kind of attention they cannot fully account for. It is not straightforward morbidity, though it resembles it from the outside. It is the nervous system finding a contained, socially acceptable way to feel the edge again. A version of chaos that costs nothing and risks nothing and still delivers the neurological signal the system is craving. But there is a real cost, and almost nobody talks about it directly. When you develop a sustained appetite for disruption, whether you feed it through drama in your own life, through the low-grade thrill of watching things collapse at a safe distance, or through the steady stream of crisis and conflict available on any screen, your tolerance for ordinary stillness quietly erodes. Peace starts to feel like a warning. Stability starts to feel suspicious rather than earned. You begin to associate turbulence with being alive and associate calm with being stuck. And once that association takes hold, it becomes genuinely difficult to build anything that lasts. Because building things that last requires showing up during the uninteresting stretches. It requires doing the work when there is no urgency, no fire, no reason to feel heroic. It requires finding genuine meaning in the ordinary and the repetitive and the undramatic. And that is precisely the capacity that a chronic appetite for chaos quietly dismantles. So here is the reframe, and it matters. The next time you notice that flicker of relief when something falls apart, do not punish yourself for it. That impulse is not evidence that you are broken or secretly self-destructive. It is a signal. It is your nervous system telling you something true about the state of your life. Something in your current structure is not demanding enough from you. Something is not providing sufficient challenge, movement, or meaning. The chaos is not the point. The chaos is the messenger. The question is whether you respond to that message by manufacturing disruption or by building something that genuinely requires something from you. Something uncertain enough, demanding enough, and alive enough that the restless part of your brain stops looking for fires to start, because it is already fully occupied with the one you chose to tend. The nervous system that craves chaos does not actually want things to burn. It wants to feel like it is still in the game, and you can give it that without lighting anything on fire. You just have to be honest about how much of your current life is asking anything of you at all.